Year 2011, the Arab Spring Revolution was at its peak. Libya was finally liberated from its self-proclaimed leader Muammar Gaddafi after almost 4 decades of authoritarian rule. But 9 years later, with a full-blown civil war at its heels, what went wrong for this Arab nation? Gaddafi's death on the 20th of October 2011 was met with celebrations around the country. But post-Gaddafi, Libya continues to be a battleground. Libya continues to reel from violence as the country's civil war shows no signs of stopping. In a country divided along regional tensions, a democratic state seems like a dream for the oil-rich nation. A National Transitional Council was established to rule the nation after Gaddafi's death. The NTC governed Libya for a period of 10 months after the end of the war. In the year 2012, it led the way to a General National Congress elected by the Libyans. The GNC was given 18 months to help with the transition of the country into a complete democracy. But the GNC failed, with this goal giving way to a House of Representatives in 2014. However, members of the GNC maintained that GNC was the illegitimate parliament of Libya. This led to a clash between the two opposing powers in Libya, the House of Representatives and the GNC, leading to a full-blown confrontation between the East and the West. It was then that self-styled military commander Khalifa Haftar launched Operation Dignity against the Tripoli-based forces, accusing them of siding with the militias. In the year 2015, the United Nations had to step in, brokering a power-sharing agreement. Signed in Morocco, this established a government of national accord, also portrayed as Libya's legitimate government. But this peace was short-lived. Fayez al-Sarraj, Prime Minister of the Government of National Accord, and General Khalifa Haftar clashed as the mandate of the GNA came under question. Since then, a power struggle between the GNA based in Tripoli and a parallel administration backed by Haftar's self-styled Libyan National Army in the east has left the country divided. With Haftar's latest offensive, peace continues to remain a distant dream for Libya. Now being joined by Professor Muzaffar Senel, live from Istanbul, Turkey. Muzaffar is a professor in the Department of Political Science and International Relations of Istanbul's Sehir University. Welcome, Professor, to our broadcast here on WION World is One. I want to begin by asking you this. Hostilities were originally meant to cease before the talks in Germany. Now that this action has come from General Khalifa Haftar, how badly will it affect the negotiations?
Definitely it will negatively affect. I mean, there is one proverb just remind me when these hostilities start again to that. Scare someone into accepting the lesser of two evils. I mean, now it's trying to create a scary environment. This is the most important thing. Is that the most importantly we should underline what will be the response of the international community, as in the case of what did happen in Moscow meetings, because we should remember that the 12th of January, the internationally recognized government government of national accords, and the Haftar accepted a ceasefire called by Turkey and Russia, and to end the hostilities in Tripoli and then to going to be on the table. But however, that Haftar left Moscow on Tuesday without signing the proposed deal, despite the fact that verbally, orally, he accepted. Therefore, I mean, it shows that the Haftar and his supporters shows that they do not want to reach a political solution to the conflict. When he returned back to Libya, he just started again to this scary environment and going to create a new hostilities, which is should be underlined to that. I mean, what will be the UN or the UN Security Council members or other actors will respond to the Haftar brutality in the region? I mean, they are keeping silence. They are still supporting the Haftar. I mean, since therefore, I'm not expecting a positive move in the Berlin because of the international actors like United States, France, or Russia. even the EU is not supporting the full support to the UN-backed government of national accords. They are not supporting the legitimate government. Many of them, especially in terms of the international legitimacy they gave to the Haftar within this process, that how can we see that there should be a kind of a solution there?
Right, Professor Muzaffar Sanal, I wanted to touch upon that very topic that you're just talking about. The world powers have stepped in, big meeting in Germany. What are the chances really of a breakthrough in those talks?
If there is a political will, there should be a chance, of course. Of course, everything is on the table. But I mean, what will be the confidence building measures between among the powers? Okay, there is nothing till now, obviously, to say any kind of the confidence building measures among the worrying parties, the most important. Then what will be the punishment if any of them break the rules? There is no roadmap is still drawn. There is only the goodwill, and hopefully goodwill will work. But we should see that the roadmap for peaceful talk to reach a political solution. The Moscow was the one chance, and now in Berlin, it looks like turning into Genoa meetings of the Syrian crisis. The meetings are just only the coffee, tea, or let's say cookies meetings. That's all. They come together having coffee and the talks. Nothing, no solution to reach, because we need the roadmap right now.
Absolutely.
But still now there is no roadmap has been drawn.
Right, Professor Muzaffar Sanal, that's what I wanted to ask you next about the possible solutions to end the civil war. What, according to you, is on the table at the moment that is implementable through these talks to halt the civil war?
As of today, I mean, just only we know that some scenarios is coming, but we don't have any, let's say, just only some rumors, diplomatic rumors that we have, hearing about the federation, hearing about a new kind of the national accords to be, let's say, legitimizing the Haftar, and also to let's say split the country even one of those one. Most of the scenarios will further complicate the Libyan problem, leading to more bloodshed, destruction, and the violations of the human rights. It's going to like that. But the most importantly, that to support the national accords, the government of national accords, to help them to control the country. But it seems difficult since either United States or Russia did not support the national accords. Therefore, it's going to be, looks like the federation of Libyan federation looks like more West Libya and East Libya federation looks like to the more acceptable by the international community, apart from all other scenarios like supporting just only supporting the UN-backed government or Haftar, or let's say turning into worst solution is going to like in the case of the Syrian example. We should have the Syrian example or Kosovo example.
Professor Muzaffar Sanal.
International intervention will come. I don't think so that the humanitarian intervention will come, because humanitarian intervention should support the national government rather than Haftar. But the UN Security members of the UN Security Council is supporting the Haftar, since Haftar looks like a new Gaddafi in the region, and the new Gaddafi in the hands of the UN Security Council is emerging in the region. Therefore, this is not the fault of the Arabs. This is the fault of the international community.
Right, Professor Muzaffar Sanal joining us live from Istanbul, Turkey, Professor of Department of Political Science and International Relations of Istanbul Sahir University. Thank you so much for taking time out to share your perspective with us here on WION World is One. Now, Khalifa Haftar may have come to the forefront recently, but he has been involved in Libyan politics for a very long time. The commander was born in eastern Libya in 1943. He was among the officers who participated in the coup that brought Muammar Gaddafi to power in 1969. In fact, Haftar went on to rise in the ranks to become one of Gaddafi's key aides. His downfall began when he led the Libyan forces in the Chad conflict. Haftar and his soldiers were captured in Chad in 1987. Gaddafi, who did not want to accept the Libyan involvement in the foreign conflict, disowned Haftar. The commander then went into exile in the US, where he is believed to have been in close proximity with the CIA. Haftar returned to Libya in 2011 after Gaddafi's downfall. In 2014, he asked Libyans to rise up against the government. Haftar rose to further prominence when his forces pushed militants out of Benghazi in 2016. It was in 2019 when he began a campaign against the United Nations-backed government in Tripoli. However, Haftar lacks popularity in Tripoli and other Libyan cities over his past ties with Muammar Gaddafi and later the United States of America. In a dramatic move ahead of the crucial peace conference in Berlin, Commander Khalifa Haftar shut down oil ports in eastern Libya. This new disruption in the OPEC states' energy industry has led to a halt of more than half of the country's crude oil output. Sharing the border to the west with fellow OPEC member Algeria, Libya is the 16th largest country in the world in terms of land mass. Libya's oil crescent has reserves in abundance, and in fact with 48,363 million barrels of fossil fuel in store, it ranks 9th globally. This quantity accounts for about 3% of the world's total oil reserves. Libya has proven reserves equivalent to 594.2 times its annual consumption. Apart from petroleum, Libya's other natural resources are natural gas and gypsum. The country joined the OPEC, or Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, in the year 1962. Its economy depends primarily on the oil sector, which represents about 69% of export earnings. Moreover, the oil and gas sector accounts for about 60% of total GDP. Substantial revenues from the energy sector, coupled with a small population, give Libya one of the highest per capita GDPs in Africa. This means that without net exports, there would be about 594 years of oil left at current consumption levels. Libya exports 48% of its oil production, that is 238,500 barrels per day. Libya has 5 domestic refineries with a combined capacity of 378,000 barrels a day. They are the Azawiya Oil Refining Company, Sarir Refining, Sirte Oil Company, Tobruk Refining, Ras Lanuf Oil and Gas Processing Company. One of the terminal shutdowns in eastern Libya is Zueitina Oil Port, which is located in the oil crescent of Libya, and it exports crude oil and liquefied natural gas, or LNG. The storage capacity of the terminal is around 6.5 million barrels of crude oil. The daily production rate lies between 60,000 and 70,000 barrels of oil, and the terminal itself has the capacity to handle 20% of Libya's crude oil exports. Over 85% of Libya's crude exports go to Europe, while around 32% of Libyan oil goes to Italy, 14% to Germany, 10% to China and France, and 5% to the United States of America.